First of all, for those of you who know me, this obviously is not my voice. I don't have the proper audio equipment to record myself. I've tried multiple times, it just doesn't work. So this is a computer voice. Anyway, Kid Video is finally restored and uncut. That comes with a huge asterisk, but I'll explain that in this video. That's right, I edited together the entire series, totally uncut, absolutely complete, with all the original music videos that showed on TV back in the 80s. This video is about how I did that. This is huge news because parts of it were missing for years. It originally ran from 1984 to 1985 and had a unique format. Music videos by popular mainstream bands were edited into the show and changed every year to reflect the latest hits. If you watch any YouTube video on Kid Video or read an article about it online, all of them mention that the series is incomplete online and probably lost forever. Seems sad that this is the case. Check out this Secret Galaxy video, which sums it up nicely.
Kid Video has been released on VHS in the past, but even today, even with several episodes on sites like this YouTube, complete episodes are practically non-existent. The licensing rights to the pop music that was featured in the episodes has long since expired and is never going to be relicensed to somehow put out a complete edition, even if those original recordings still exist. Especially since the rights to Kid Video and several other former Deke properties are currently owned by Disney. Don't expect a full restoration of Kid Video unless or until Disney owns the rights to all the songs that were used in the 26 episodes, which actually, now that I think of it, are we there yet? It's gotta be coming soon. What don't they own?
So we can't expect a restoration? Well, we'll get to that later. First, let's talk about the history of Kid Video's online presence. There was one English-language fan site for the show called Kid Video Flipside, run by two sisters named Teresita and April. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce their last name. They also had a Yahoo Groups for it. I vaguely remember seeing that group because I used Yahoo Groups, but to be honest, I wasn't a huge Kid Video fan at the time. I just really liked the music. In the late 2000s, the sisters uploaded episodes to YouTube. Unfortunately, YouTube was different back then, and copyright issues forced them to remove a lot of content, including music videos and some animated scenes. This left many episodes incomplete. From what I can gather, the sisters really did try to get their hands on as many of the episodes as possible, with the intent of freely distributing them so fans could see the show. I know they asked people in their Yahoo Groups for footage. No other Kid Video collector I have come across online has bothered to share whatever footage they have, which I find rather depressing considering how easy it is to upload to YouTube. So they had the only free copy of the show to watch online. Of the 26 episodes, only 7 of their episodes were 100% complete. The other 19 were incomplete in some way. Or they were the VHS versions, which were re-edited by the production company to account for the fact that the VHS releases did not have the rights to play the music videos. I also recall on their website, before the days of YouTube, they had Real Media files of the episodes. But we all remember Real Media. It was awful. I can see why they switched over to YouTube, even though YouTube cracked down on their music videos. It was clearly the better service. Their YouTube channel has 2 terribly incomplete episodes, Euphonious the Melodious Dragon and Race to Popland. About 5 to 6 minutes is missing from both of those episodes. And check out Race to Popland. This is what it looks like throughout the whole thing. Also, another problem to add to their pile, many of their episodes have music videos from 1986 and later, so those were reruns made after the music videos were changed. It's impossible to remember what music was on the show in 1984 and 1985 now that it's 40 years later, so the information on which music videos were on the original run episodes was also lost forever. There wasn't another Kid Video fan site, at least not that we know of in English. Sadly, Teresita passed away due to some medical issues, and according to some fan accounts, that was the beginning of the end of the updates to the Yahoo group, the website, and the YouTube channel. Fortunately, the website is still up as of this writing, but it sounded like April was not up to continuing something that they both worked on together. If you look at the website now, you can see on the side it says that Teresita is the one who started the whole thing with a Prodigy site. So to summarize, nobody else has uploaded their old recordings, and Kid Video Flipside is understandably not active anymore. We will never see these full episodes again. Game over, right? Well, you know those shady websites that can stream TV shows and cartoons, and a lot of times they have sexy ads all over them, and you don't know how they are legal, but they exist anyway? A Spanish one of those had a Spanish language version of the show. almost totally complete. Most people never find it. I was looking hard for alternate versions for weeks and never found it myself. It was shown to me by one of my subscribers. Also, the music videos on these were from 1982 to 1984. That means these were the original run of the show. All that missing information about what music videos ran on the original 1984-85 run of the show was found. And if you want to pause the video to read this, here's all the music from the series. There are a few unknown replacement songs, but before this was found, there were a ton more unknown songs. And every episode's music is actually accounted for. As a side note, that same subscriber sent me a ton of episodes in Hebrew, so now I had 3 versions of the show to work with, which, as you'll see later, actually did come in handy. Anyway, with all this footage I had, I could make a complete English version by replacing the Spanish or Hebrew audio, but it's a lot of work. And there is still missing English audio. Plus the different frame rates, it looked like a monster amount of work. One of my recent hobbies has been upscaling and cleaning old video. I upscaled the kid video music videos, and that was a lot of work. I had to find good quality footage and learn how to edit video beyond basic tools. Some of the footage was really bad, so I had to learn how to use even more AI tools to restore them, such as face swapping. I mean, look at how damaged this footage was. For example, there was this shot that had to be fixed. I learned how to deepfake to get their faces back onto the footage. I used motion tracking sometimes. I used AI upscalers to squeeze better quality out of it. In some instances, I overlaid several sources because none of the sources were great. I thought I was done with kid video after that. As I said, I really liked the music, but the show itself wasn't a huge deal to me, so I had no interest in restoring the show. Though I did have such a fun time restoring the videos that a month or 2 later, I upscaled the first episode off this YouTube channel that had already done the work of restoring it to the 1984 version. I wasn't interested in the daunting task of restoring the entire show, though. People asked, and I said if someone else does it, I'll gladly upscale and clean them. To that end, I looked for people who would do it. However, it soon became clear after doing some online detective work that restoring the whole show was probably not going to get done soon. So I slowly started diving into restoring some of the episodes, and I found the process very satisfying. So I continued to do it. And it's a good thing I did this project when I did, because a few months later, that Spanish website I mentioned went down. Upon further investigation, watching every episode on Kid Video Flipside, I noticed even more glaring omissions when compared to the more complete Spanish version. Lots of much smaller scenes were accidentally cut. A whole lot more than you would think. Like this scene. Or this scene.
Con las instrucciones de Maris, llegaremos muy pronto a la torre de Xenia.
Una buena noticia, la encontramos.
¿Cuál es la mala noticia?
Mírala.
Or this scene, which was missing in both the Spanish and English versions. Thank God I had the Hebrew version. Some of these missing scenes were over a minute or 2, which meant I had a lot of editing to do. Every time I came to a roadblock, I Googled it. How do I remove vocals from a backing track? How do I remove hiss or noise from old video? I learned everything from scratch. I was not a video editor, I was a Photoshopper. I learned a ton as I went. Those are all issues I had to tackle during these edits. However, the first and foremost issue was to fix the picture quality of the surviving footage. As you've seen, I can upscale and restore video. All the versions I had were recorded at 480p or lower, and all of them had major compression noise and artifacting due to how long ago they were digitized. Fortunately, I had purchased Topaz Video AI to clean my own home videos. Look at what it can do. It's even better and faster at cartoons, especially old video files from decades ago because of their small file sizes. Check out this upscale.
What are you doing in my room?
Oh, just leaving.
Those kids! You, come with me!
The major problem with AI cleaning and upscaling is you could end up with a worse result. AI imagines what it thinks is the correct visual output. Usually it's correct, but we've all seen AI art. It might misinterpret something. AI video cleaners are tools, and the results depend on the users. There are tons of sliders and settings. People see AI footage and just think this is what all AI does automatically. But there are tons of different AI apps and tons of different users all using different settings and getting different results. Further complicating the issue, the fact that all the kid video footage comes from wildly different sources and there are multiple edits in each episode, all from those sources, you can't just turn the AI on and it magically fixes things. In order to do this the right way, each shot in each episode needs to be rendered out separately to check to see if it even gives a good result. As you can imagine, this takes a lot of time and energy. It would take someone months or years to go through the entire series to get it fixed the right way. So the most realistic thing I could do without overcorrecting the footage and also wasting potentially months of time was this. 1. Set the retained details level as high as you could stand. This slider tries to keep as much of the original detail from the source video as possible. 2. Set the sliders that fix things as low as they can go while still having it actually do something. Then 3. Cross your fingers and hope for the best. Render out the entire episode, which could take a half hour for each render. This is a vast oversimplification of the process. I'm leaving out a ton of steps, but you get the idea. The real process involves multiple renders and blending modes in Adobe Premiere and all sorts of tricks, but that's a whole other video. The result was a clean look with several shots not looking all that great, if I'm to be honest. But again, the right way to do it would take someone ages. Let's show an example of another problem that happens in a lot of these episodes. Listen to this episode's English soundtrack from KB Flipside.
Just push the button and think about Wiz.
Now listen to the Spanish version.
Solo presiona el ratón y piensa en Wiz.
The English version has a generic song replacement, while the earlier recorded Spanish version, which we know is the original run, has a recognizable pop music song. The generic songs had to be removed and replaced, and there were a lot of these.
She's beautiful.
She reads your mind, too. Just push the button and think about Wiz. Maybe she sees all and knows all, but she sure didn't tell us much.
I guess it means somebody is watching me. Or watching Wiz.
And don't forget that the music videos had to be replaced too, editing in the original 1984 and 85 videos to replace either the missing video or the newer 1986 video already viewable on YouTube. That often meant I had to reanimate old analog video transitions like these.
How about that? Does that sound like a siren song?
Speaking of old analog switcher transitions, this one was my favorite. Check out this transition I had to replicate on this episode.
That's not the only thing from our world. I know why we see.
There were times when there was no information as to what video was missing. For example, this is all we knew about this video.
We'll be right there.
Just those few blurry frames and a fraction of a second of audio. I asked Reddit to solve this mystery and got an answer in a few hours. Now for a different issue, missing English dialogue. I could have just subtitled everything, which eventually I did do for some episodes. But I knew this technology called voice cloning existed. If I could get someone to speak the lines, you could change their voices into the original voice actors if you have a sample of their speech. So I tried text-to-speech and voice cloning with Master Zapper, and I heard this.
I heard that.
And I got so excited, I was convinced I could maybe do it for the rest of the missing English dialogue. I could translate foreign footage, then have a realistic text-to-speech website generate those lines, then voice clone those lines. It was a lot of work. Some lines took hours to get right with an AI generator. Even if it sounded good, it might sound terrible in the clip itself. I had to try different voice generators or rewrite the lines. There are some lines I couldn't get right, and I just left them mediocre. I did this for 6 minutes of Euphonious the Melodious Dragon dialogue. It took weeks and was so hard that I gave up and just subtitled the rest of the episodes. However, I still did the AI voices on very small sections where only a few lines were missing. There are some sections I'm really impressed by, like this one.
Hungry like a wolf? A wolf? Why would they want to go there?
Where, Professor? Where did they go?
This one.
They mentioned the moving sidewalk and climbing up. Yeah, like an escalator.
Something to bring us up.
Leave it to me. It would be great if I had some of that done.
As you wish.
And check out this one where the copycats are doing fake, slightly higher female voices to fool the gang, but still keeping their own male voices intact.
What's up, big boys?
Do you want to do the dance contest with me and win a prize?
That is insane. Let me just remind you that everything you heard was generated by AI. Consider the implications this has on restoring old TV shows in general. What are the possibilities? With actors that may not want to do this work, or long past voice actors that can't be utilized, as well as parent companies that have no chance of restoring old shows. With these new tools, fans can restore lost media. That brings me to my final note on the restoration process. Basically, I want to address the elephant in the room as to why I made the decision to do voice cloning and subtitles instead of waiting for the lost media to be found. I think it's obvious. We could die of old age before the missing audio is found, so that's the big reason I started this project now instead of waiting. I seriously doubt the miracle will happen and we get that footage anytime soon. I love subtitled anime. I like listening to anime in its original language. So by that logic, since Kid Video originated in English, I wanted it to be in English. I wanted people to watch the show as they remembered it. That means as few subtitles as possible. I wanted people to just sit and enjoy the show. I wanted to make it as similar to 1984 as possible. But there's only so much you can do as a hobbyist with voice cloning. If I had real actors, better equipment, and a staff of people to translate and help, we could pull off recreating these scenes in English. But right now, subtitling is the best option we have. As for staying true to the originals, yes, I very much wanted to do that. I like to be as accurate as possible when I do any kind of project. The dialogue replacement and subtitles I did without any reference to the original footage bothers me, and has bothered me the entire time I did this project. So I know there are purists out there that will complain about this project because under normal circumstances, I am one of those purists. But the point is, I got over it for what I consider a greater good. Releasing the show before it got too late and nobody cared about it anymore. Finally, that being said, why is this show even worth it? Rewatching it after 40 years, I appreciate it more than I did as a kid. The show actually works. Of course, I didn't notice any of this when I was a kid. On the surface, the show isn't very good. It's bizarre, the stories are kind of loose, it seems kind of lazily written, the dialogue is a bit wonky, it's just not a quality show overall. Very similar to a lot of fodder that came out in the 80s, where it kind of seemed like people were trying to shove a product out the door quickly. However, the show is a perfect time capsule of the 80s. The music video culture, the colors, and the vibe. Music videos at the time had a penchant for being surreal and nonsensical, and with crazy fantastical stories, and the show just took that theme and ran with it. It doesn't make a ton of sense, and it doesn't care. The show actually works because it's supposed to be a mix of a surreal 80s music video and an old-fashioned cartoon. And I think you had to be alive at the time and experiencing kids' media and the music of the day to really understand that these guys actually did hit it out of the park. For the time period, it worked well. Another reason I appreciate it in hindsight, you can see the very clear influence from surreal 30s cartoons. I mean, look at these character designs. These are directly out of the 30s through 50s. And I really appreciate this now and did not as a kid. These people did their homework. They wanted surrealism, and The 1930s in animation was exactly the time period to look at from their perspective as artists. And they lean into that. They want cartoon logic, they want Tex Avery, they want Porky and Wacky they want weirdness. And despite main characters being based on real people, they still do a decent job having them do cartoon things. And overall, they have done a pretty nice job of creating quote-unquote modern cartoons mixed with 30s and 40s cartoons, creating original designs that are still modern, weird, and 80s, but harken back to those classics. These people were creative, unlike some other dumb attempts we've seen. By its nature, it doesn't matter that the stories are nonsensical. When I watch something from my childhood like Transformers or Thundercats, but a dumb story beat happens, I think, how did I not notice how dumb this is? And I loved Thundercats and G.I. Joe and all that stuff. But as an adult, I ask myself, why? But when you watch Kid Video, that was a bad 80s acid trip, and it's supposed to be. A weird fantasy that serves as a framing device for weird 80s music videos. I love the 80s, and that's why when I was restoring this show, it felt like I was in a time machine. More so than any other 80s cartoon I've tried to revisit. It feels like home. It's not the best quality show, but for my money, it's got the strongest thematic tie to the time period. I think the sheer creativity expressed by the artists is severely underappreciated, especially coming out at a time when there was a significant creative quality drop in kids' cartoons because everything was about selling a toy. And a lot of times, clearly the artists and the writers of those 30-minute-long commercials did not care at all. But Kid Video wasn't about toys. It was about capitalizing on the music and artistry that came out of the music video and record industry. But that vibe only happened at that point in time. I think this time capsule quality is why it deserved to be restored. Many thanks to several of my YouTube subscribers who offered to help in so many ways. In particular, Aiden Levy gave me both the Spanish and Hebrew versions of the show and actually translated Hebrew dialogue for me, as well as all the people you see on the screen. So how do you see the full, complete, and uncut series of Kid Video? Well, it's on one of my YouTube channels. Check the link in the description below. Also, considering how shaky it is to post copyrighted stuff on YouTube, there is a backup in 480p on the Internet Archive at archive.org, link in the description below. And while I do intend for my work to be seen completely for free on the internet, and do not intend on holding it hostage behind illegally copied and copyrighted TV shows sold on a retro DVD website, I would appreciate any donations. I spent weeks doing this project, and if you enjoy my work, please consider donating to my Ko-fi account. If you do donate, I will send you a JPEG of this image that you can print out for your personal enjoyment, to be used however you see fit, just another way for you to appreciate my hard work. By the way, one DVD site I was watching suddenly released an exclusive updated version of the show, remastered for superior picture quality and sound, right after I posted my restorations on YouTube. Their description was suspiciously close to mine as well. This DVD page didn't exist before my restorations because I had looked at all of these websites while looking for editing material. It even showcases a scene I recognized as my edit because the specific shot they happened to pick was one that I had a hard time color correcting, so I absolutely recognized my work. I'm not going to list it here because that will just drive traffic to their site, and we can't have them getting a higher place in the search algorithm. So if you want to support the actual person who worked on this, and if you don't donate, you should still tell all your friends that Kid Video is available for free online. Thanks for watching.